Oh man, I am excited for this one. Hey friends, my name is Miranda. Welcome to my universe. Today we will be reading? Come read with me. 1,200 pages, why don't ya? Today I will be reviewing The Stand by Stephen King. Who else would it be written by? This review will be spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about that whether you have read it or have not read it. Also, I do want to put another disclaimer out there too. This edition of The Stand is the expanded version, because basically what happened was when Stephen King wrote this story, his original draft was over 1,000 pages long. But when he first published the story, he actually took out almost 400 of those pages. So the first edition of The Stand is only a little bit over 800 pages. This one, as you can see, is the 1,200 page version of The Stand, how Stephen King wrote it originally, and he recreated it and decided to actually put it out in the world. So my stand might be different from your stand if you have read it, but I actually didn't know that I picked up the expanded version until I started reading it, and I thought, well, too late now. Anyways, without further ado, let's talk about this book and my feelings. The Stand by Stephen King. This is a post-apocalyptic story which follows around different Americans as they live their lives trying to rebuild society after about 90% of the world's population was wiped out by an airborne virus. Isn't that interesting? I read this book at a great time. Being here, March 2021, still in the midst of this pandemic, I think this was a great time to read this book just because I did empathize and really felt like I was in these characters' shoes. I loved this story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There were points that I thought were kind of useless and not needed, and there was some things where I totally lost interest in, and because of that, I didn't give this book 5 stars. I actually gave it 4.5, but it might be one of those situations where in a few years I look back at it and actually end up changing my rating. That's actually what happened with It by Stephen King. I went back recently into my Goodreads account and changed that 4 stars to 5 stars because that book is phenomenal. But The Stand. Let's start with the cons so that we can end with the pros, because around here we like happy endings. One of the things I really struggled with was the amount of characters in this story. Now, of course, with every Stephen King book, you are going to get incredible characters. Every single one of these characters was phenomenally written. They all had such depth to them, whether they were evil or good or chaotic neutral. Like, it was so well done. All of these characters, how their lives mixed together and how their stories would intertwine as the story went along. It was beautifully written. I could never do anything like that. Stephen King, you really are like, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to write and develop a beautiful story surrounded by these incredibly well-built characters. But there were a lot of them. There were so many characters in this book, which makes sense considering it is a story surrounding a lot of people who were affected differently by this pandemic. I was struggling while I was reading this. I'm just gonna be honest with you. There were so many times where I had to go back in the story, look at some of my sticky notes to try to remember who was what and who did what. It was very hard to keep track with everybody. Also, I don't really think the government, the council, because this is a story about people trying to rebuild society. So you get a lot of that government dynamic and this council that tries to create decisions, and that was just very boring for me. That might just be for me personally because I've never been super into those kind of character dynamics. Also, of course, this is normal with Stephen King though. There was a lot of detail, even a few characters that I felt were very unnecessary. But, you know, I kind of knew that going in, that would probably be an issue, especially considering I bought the expanded version. So there's that. But let's talk about the pros now, because there are so many. The characters, every single character I met, I almost instantly fell in love with or instantly hated, which was the point. In this story, we have two different sides, okay? We have the good and the evil, obviously. The evil is ran by the dark man, and the good side is ran by Mother Abigail. Mother Abigail almost has like this God complex. She is super, super religious. She's, I believe, 105 years old. I could be wrong, maybe it's 107, something like that. So she is very old. She has this great relationship with God, you know, she's constantly talking to him, is very well connected with her spiritual life. And so she believes that the dark man, who everybody has dreams of both of these people, by the way. You could be across the nation and you would go to sleep and you would have these dreams about either the dark man or Mother Abigail. And depending on who you connected with most, you would end up traveling to them subconsciously. So it was really cool, just that whole dynamic, and how Stephen King really brought out the good and the evil in people and who you are most drawn to and the energy that you almost are seeking in your life. And then we have the dark man, who has a lot of antichrist characteristics, which I loved. You guys, the symbolism in this story. Wow. The dark man creates this society that is surrounded by fear, but some of these characters basically live their lives feeling like the earth owes them, that the universe owes them something, because they have suffered and they feel like they can find their purpose in the fear instead of the hope that Mother Abigail brings them. So they end up being drawn to the dark man and being used by him. But what I absolutely adore is that Stephen King has created this villain that has such a hold on these people. And these people fear him, and they know, like, once they meet the dark man, they realize what they have done. They realize that they're kind of on like the evil side, right? But they can't really escape because they think that they'll either die or be hunted down, or that they literally won't be able to get out alive. So you have these people who are literally held there only by fear. And maybe it's other reasons, their strong will, the fact they feel like they owe the dark man because he rescued them, whatever. But really the dark man honestly has all evil intentions. All evil intentions. Like, there is nothing redeemable about this man, but the way he is written and how manipulative he is, and how people are still drawn to him because they feel like that's the only way that they will find their purpose in life again. Like, it was just insane. It was so cool. Like, I was just totally obsessed with these characters and so drawn in, and they always kept my attention. Like, I think one of my favorite parts to read about this book was the dark man's side and seeing into the minds of the people who were following him. Because yes, you know, with Mother Abigail, you realize, oh yeah, they want hope for humanity again. They're trying to rebuild a society built on peace. But then you look at the dark man and his followers and you wonder, why are they there? They don't belong there, so why did they get there? I am not joking when I say that the dark man is the best written villain I have ever read in my life. This guy might be my favorite villain, just hands down in general. He was so psychotic, so twisted, so manipulative. And it was in such a way that was like, it was symbolic. And there were so many symbols surrounding him, like the color red and crows and ravens and snakes, and a lot of different evil kind of connotations when it comes to certain objects in different religions and in different cultures. It was all brought together and it was like, boop, here's the dark man. Man, I could go on and on about him. Besides the dark man, there was a lot of other characters that I really enjoyed. I like how I'm carrying it like a baby. Like, Harold was such a well-developed character. You are meant to hate him, meant to despise him, and just I can't spoil anything, but just the way that events play out is just so, it's disheartening, but also it feels satisfying because you kind of see it coming and you almost realize right before it happens that, like, dang, this guy, like, everything that happens to him, he did to himself, even though he's trying his best. And that, I think, is a huge theme that is very heavy, very deep. I really liked Nick and Tom. They are my two favorite characters, and their relationship and their bond was just beautiful. This book made me laugh, made me scream, made me cry. I quite literally threw it. So there's that. Everything about this book, the plot, the characters, the storyline, the symbolisms, everything was so intentional and well written, and I'm obsessed with it. I really, really like this book. You know what? Like, why the frick did I not give it 5 stars? Now that I'm like talking about it, I'm like, this is such a incredible story, and it's a journey. You follow these people as they are in a desperate attempt to rebuild their society and their prosperity after a complete desolation. And you really get that evil and that good. Man, I'm just repeating myself now. This book, The Stand, if you are not scared of thick books, if you like Stephen King's writing, I highly suggest you read this one because it is so good. It's hard to get through at some points, but the horror elements mixed in with the thriller and the mystery and the adventure is so worth it. This book is so worth it. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all. Please be safe, make good choices, and I will definitely see you next time. Bye.